Morning Scrum with Govind Davis.
Fried is just not even nearly enough to describe, not strong enough a word to describe my state of mind at the moment. And on another level, I'm like so down with where I'm at in terms of just feeling like, okay, just the last final like moments of this experience that I'm going to describe feels like it was totally like worth it, even though I literally was like, I think I've had since 8:30 yesterday, I have been like glued to my machine except for like 4 or 5 hours, something like that. And I'm gonna explain kind of where this whole thing transgressed, and it's gonna just be like, I feel like it's one for me for the record books. Warm up your email. Yeah, I've seen these. A bunch of the teammates here are getting certified in like email warm up and cold email expertise, and it's a real thing. It's important. In a digital world, understanding like these crazy technical things or working with people who do, it makes a huge difference. Like there's just things about sending email that you need the right tools, the right people, or you're going to just struggle. And if you are struggling, you know exactly what I mean, and I can help you, and they can help you. So don't blow up your domain. So I'm gonna start at the end and walk back this one backwards because there is so much to unpack here. I can't even show you like all the different crazy like gyrations I went through to get something that seems pretty simple to work. But in the process, I ended up with something like I feel really good about. And I feel good about like how I like all the different pieces of how I ended up here and what it like taught me. So we're going to go and I'm going to show you this article, which is actually, this is the recording from yesterday. And it's an article in Ghost, and it says right here, okay, this is not the right, yeah, it's not the AI tool, but there's an AI approach to the creation that is, to me, like I feel like I'm like finally okay. For these people who have been vibe coding forever, for years, whatever, fine. But for 99.99999% of you who don't like haven't caught up to this is like right. This is to me where it's going in terms of creation, and there's some really like concrete things behind this that I experienced and learned that I hopefully, somebody will read this or listen and be like, okay, there are a lot of mistakes you can make along the way that will set you way back if you pick the wrong tool or the wrong approach. And so I said right here, truly, this is likely more than the 100th version of this article written, mostly by AI. You won't find the answer to how how it was published in this edition. Let's fix this. it's not all AI, that's for sure. But 90, like I made a few little changes here, but I just by adding this little thing here, and that's it. The rest of it was just is AI right now. Because the next episode which is the episode I'm on right now, is how I actually made this work. So like I burned out all of my Gemini credits creating articles, and I had to have it like go through this, like I had to create like an error handler to go pick like 3 random images from like all the ones I have on I had to set up a Google Cloud drive for this. Like there were so many things that I connected, and like anyway, so I published this article, and it started with Tasklet, and I got Tasklet to make it work actually, and I was like, oh my gosh, Tasklet, this is so cool, and it is. It was amazing. And then I ran out of credits, and I'm like, geez, I just spent X amount of dollars, and I got something that is like a prototype. But what happens like as I really want, I'm like gonna want to take this to another level, and and so then I went and I thought about like, all right, where's the root of this? Like, how do you get down to and strip out all the wasted cost, right? See, the thing is, when you get into like one of these like cloud tools that they've figured out and made it easy for you to do certain things, and as long as that works fine and you're willing to pay like a huge premium for the thinking it's going to do for you, then fine, right? Because if you're using like an AI tool, robot or whatever, you're paying some kind of consumption. We call it like almost like a consumption tax. It's like well, it's not a tax, but they will be taxing. This is bad money, right? Credit consumption is like, it's just insane, right? And everything is going to be about credit consumption, like how much of the robot you get. And so I'm like, okay, I don't think my theory and my feeling had been like, I gotta move away from cloud for like cloud tooling, and you've got to do pieces of it locally and you work locally, whatever, because of the cost factor. And you've got to get like more. Or at least for me, I had to get a lot more technical, because all these like layers and layers on top of it that try to make it easier. In some ways, they don't. And what's happened, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go IDE. But first, so I went Tasklet. I burned up I went over to Q's, tried a little bit more, and my credits were gone right away. So I'm like, okay, these cloud tools like are really cool, but you just like, if you're doing any heavy lifting, you just can't afford it, right? So in this other, I've been trying other, LLMs and anything LLM. I've tried every tool, like practically, not every tool. I've tried, because there's so many, but 20 of them, or whatever, how many different approaches. So I got, the next one so I got it to work, and this was publishing to Wix. Then in Tasklet, ran out of credits, and like my next major adventure was to go get anti-gravity. And I think by that time I was so mentally fried. I think I actually, as far as I got anti-gravity, was to publish to Wix. Like there was these issues. It was running into so many challenges trying to integrate with Wix, Media Manager, all these things. Like I spent hours, like just forever. Like, and so many, trying to deal with OAuth and all these, it was absolutely, and so anyway, so anti-gravity, it published through Velo, and it published it, but I never got the images. And so and I ran out of credits. So I'm like, okay, then you can go sign up. If you want anti-gravity, you have to use your personal account. You can't get like a workspace anti-gravity. I'm like, I don't know, like this to me, just like I can't I can't go there right now, right? I'm just like, I need to rethink this again. So then I downloaded Visual Studio, and it's like, this is way like overkill, too complicated. And then I downloaded Windsurf, and because I was also looking at it, like there's this credit-based question, right? You're like, okay, how much, and so at Windsurf, it's 500 credits for like a relatively low amount of money. And I'm like, is this going to be enough? And so I actually want to look and see what I've burned through. I got 100 free, and it makes it easy to find the usage. Let's see, I probably spent 200 on this app. But even that, you're like, this is a lot of work. I saw, actually, I 156 credits, which is like, okay, I don't really mind credits when you're like, if I'm busy working all month in a tool, I am going to spend $15. You're like, okay, like that feels to me like money that I would, and you know what, did it take me more time to get where I am today? Do I have to make some trade-off sacrifices? Absolutely. Like I probably could have eventually figured out Wix, but I just got so like frustrated that I'm just like, I don't care that I have 20 blogs I have to manually move. I am done with Wix. And so I ended up in Ghost. And let's go. Yeah, wait here. Hold on. Let me go back to, here's Ghost. Here's my site in Ghost. Like I've set up, just like the kind of person I am, I'm, constantly doing new things. And so I built some stuff in Ghost in the past, and, I really like my experience last time, the simplicity. And I'm like, you know what? There's so much time I've spent with this kind of like content monetization newsletter model that I just, and I've like built, I've kind of put some stuff in Medium and put stuff in Substack and Beehive, and like, actually this model, and Magnus was kind of talking about doing stuff in Medium. And I'm like, I think I'm down with this approach. And I think it's a simple way for me, and it kind of actually makes the monetization simpler. And so I felt like, okay, actually, this is a way better, simpler thing for me. And it puts the content front and center. So I just been, while I'm waiting for Windsurf to do things, I've just been kind of rebuilding all my blogs. And anyway, give me a chance to go back and realize how crappy most of them were. Like just, the amount of time that you spend like AI is great as a getting started point, right? Like I love this, what AI is helping me, like, it's like creating the clay in a sense, or giving me like the medium to work with. But if you don't shape the content still yourself, and like, it's like carving out all the, it's going to be garbage. So anyway, it's good for me to go back again, like come up with some really cool, like catchy short titles. And so how did it get here? How did this blog article get here? Okay. So that is, I'm going to take the recording of this, turn it into an article as soon as we're done, right? And it all comes, those steps have been worked out. I've built that process, AI. You go back and look through my other articles. You're like, I've been auto-publishing to some extent for like all along. Like take this recording, create the article, and this version of it. So I used Windsurf, and I built this little builder, and I'm not even going to run it right now because I don't really want to run that article again, right? Like that's the version that I'm going to run, and you can see all the things, like just, you got to go do each of these things, it has to go get the Gemini model, right? Get your Gemini key and put it in, and this actually, like, I don't really care, but usually I just say 1 to 2,000. It has to generate. This is where I ran it. I had to add this button. I could toggle audio alerts so that it, like, because I've got just off doing things, and then it's, and so I asked all this stuff to make it easier for me to just do this 100, like, over and over and over again, because it failed so many times and in so many different ways. You can see all the logging that gets added, but and I want to make this like definitely, but this is a completely working like engine, right? I want to make it better in certain ways, but the end to end process, so what happens is, and this is where I need the upload needs to be like up here and above this, but those are like super minor changes, and I don't even care right now. I'm so zonked out. So anyway, load the the transcript from the show. It creates the article, the preview image with each of these insertions, right? See, I actually don't want these inserted here. I, probably want them to be, and now I could just shape this, right? Because it's like build, publish, and then, so once it's here, I'm thinking like maybe make this editable. Like there's just so much I can do right here. I want to make this so you just see it. Like, I don't have this little scroll window. And all of those little things are just, but it's funny. I got to chat with the robot. I even have the restart server because every time you update, make a bunch of changes, you got to restart the server, and it's not clear. So I don't know if this actually works all that well, but it's almost it does work. So last time I just shut down the server, and then I had to go back. So there's some nuance where like getting the kind of bit like the routine now. We're like build, build, deploy, test, over again, and every time like I'm generating the article. So that's where I ran into like like every time I'm generating an AI call for 1,000 words every time, and it's I could have gone back, I think, and said, hey, like let's just reuse the same words, where we started reusing the same images. That's like the load last generated, but it kind of was weird because there's not like really caching. And like you get into this, there's not really like a good caching, so you're like, you sort of have to generate the article, and then if it doesn't, I don't know, the load last generated actually just goes and gets the images. So literally, like I probably hit the generate article and went to Gemini AI and created the same basic article like 100 times. And then now it's here, and it's like awesome. You're like, this is so cool. I like just vibe coded like a pretty like this is not a simple app, and again, like once I've got a few more like tweaks in this, it's going to produce a really nice output. I will say this: there's just no matter what, it's going to produce a nice starting point, and you have to go back. And the more I'm going back and looking at it and say, look, there's great stuff in this AI. Like it's moving me along in terms of that initial creativity in ways that like, but there's like, if you really want to polish this, like I could fix the picture. It's just work something, and I need to probably use more, more recent models and all this stuff. There's a lot to think about in this. But yeah, I'm super excited. Lots more to publish, and I'm going to end with like going back to Windsurf here. Oh, sorry, that's their website. Yeah, I mean, this is what's crazy is that like, how did I end up with this insane? What's up, Abby? You jumping in on my show here? You want to hear me talk about the robots? Wow, like I literally need to go off of my my screen here because I'm like showing something anyway. So yeah, whatever. This thing is going to go through so many iterations. Well, it's not even like public. Where are we at here? Oh yeah. Sorry, Abby, you're like, no. I do not want you getting them. Yeah, they're the little air rifle pellets or whatever. But yeah, you need to. Well, Abby, hold on. You need to turn it at the top. You need to screw it on so it's tight. Because otherwise, it go the other way. There you go. Make it nice and tight.
I love the pellets.
Yeah, they're both the same thing. So, all right. Anyway, yeah. Look. I don't understand any of what's going on the left side of this screen. that's not completely true, but there's so much like code that is written for this, and I started thinking that's insane that anybody can even create all this, right? And I mean, yeah, so much of it is like, grab libraries and script libraries, but back in the time when like I was involved with a lot of code, there was a lot of code and like a lot of time just like typing in letters, right? And I just remember like Tim like tapping away at his keyboard. He had these big long fingernails, just like this whiz kid coder, and just writing all this PHP and .NET, and so I know enough to be dangerous here. And what AI did for me, like in this, was it like I like 100% of what I did was just talk to the robot. Like I didn't do anything. The only thing I had to do is go update the environmental variables, because I don't want to put your key in myself, and I don't, it raised all kinds of questions about that, security, privacy around that stuff. But I just right now for where I'm at, it's just I want to make it work. But I'm also running this, like the whole thing had built my node server and gave me instructions, right? I had to do very little, and the things that I had to do in terms of like actually like keying things in, like even after I was just like, it would be like, go put this shell command in. I'm like, no, you do it. Right? Like restart the server. No, you do it. I mean, I feel like some of those things, it should, and I was telling him like, okay, just ask me less, do more. Right. And the whole experience, like going through it over and over again and learning how this works. Like there's so many things. Abby, this is just like, you're completely not helping my show here. Yeah, you think you're so funny. Anyway, this is my life. So it's like Friday morning all the way. I'm up till like 3 a.m, and you think, because there's just so many things. And if I knew what I mean, like, and first of all, to get this done and something build, even though this doesn't seem like, oh yeah, somebody who really was like do what they were doing. But if you're like, hey, I'm somebody who I've never really deployed. I mean, I'm not like somebody who spends a lot of time. I've built a lot of things, and I've architected a lot of things, and I've instructed and had super smart people create things for me. But like the amount of real code I've written is very small. And so for somebody like me, this is just it's really eye-opening. And could I have solved it faster in some ways? Yes, but you run into these other problems, right? You run into how much am I spending to solve it that fast, and what limitations, and what am I locking myself into? And I'm excited to take this like to the next step of like, okay, let me go get deployment, something like really simple, straightforward. I'm assuming the ID can just literally control the whole deployment. So this server, instead of on my local machine, can I put it out on a Docker container, right? And just give it a web address, and that's out there. Like, I'm sure I can figure out how to post and build and deploy, automate GitHub and all these things. So way more to do here. And I'm like, this is just out, like, I feel like when they talk about surfing and flow, and I'm like, I totally I get this. Like it's actually intoxicating, and what I think the potential to create in something that feels like a really technical set of tools that I am able to access now, without having to, without having to like get caught up in the like insane. I mean, you're gonna get caught in a certain kind of weeds, but not the kind of weeds of like just pulling your hair out trying to figure out why your code doesn't work, because this thing is, it might take a while, but it's going to get there. And if you're smart and you have debugging and you engineer the way that you work with the machine, I just look at this and I'm like, by the time I've done 4 or 5 exercises like this, I'm going to be building insane things. Anyway, excited to finish the show, and I need to this weekend. I'm like, hey, I don't like to work weekends, but I'm going to get it done. I'm going to add these packages on my site. So I think I'm going to do that actually right now. And after I download this transcript and create the article, I could not be more excited that this thing works. Goodbye. And you will see this transcript online.